My close friend Wang Tian, despite her impoverished family background, has a penchant for flaunting wealth. Those luxurious villas, expensive cars, high-end customized gowns, limited edition handbags and top-grade jewelry she showcases online actually all belong to me. Both my classmates and netizens wrongly assume that she is a wealthy heiress. She has been living in my villa for a long time on a borrowed basis, and later she even brought her parents in. On the day of the graduation ceremony, my father came to see me. After learning the truth, he could no longer tolerate it, and decided to drive their family out. As a result, Wang Tian drugged my father in the fruit juice, knocked him unconscious, then slept beside him, took a group photo, and posted it online, falsely accusing my father of raping her. My mother believed it to be true, suffered from depression, and ultimately committed suicide by jumping off a building. My father was disgraced and suddenly died of a cerebral hemorrhage. Due to extreme self-blame and guilt, I contracted cancer and passed away in excruciating pain. However, Wang Tian took the opportunity to establish a strong, hostess persona, and became a big online celebrity, reaping both fame and fortune. When she opened her eyes again, I returned to the day when Wang Tian said she would come to my home to celebrate her birthday. Jinjin, in a few days it will be my 22nd birthday. We'll still celebrate at your villa. Ask Nanny Wang to prepare more fresh flowers and imported fruits. I want to take pictures, Wang Tian said to me with an air of entitlement. Immediately afterwards she added, by the way, that Chanel high-end customized gown, the Hermes handbag, and that top-grade emerald pendant of yours, I'll use them on that day too. She didn't give me a chance to reply at all. In the previous life, she flaunted her wealth online with my villa, cars, and luxury goods, packaging herself as a top-notch wealthy heiress, and attracting a large number of fans. In fact, her family was extremely poor. Her parents were lazy, and lived on the village's minimum living allowance. And I had been accustomed to these things since childhood, and never thought of taking pictures and posting them online, which conveniently benefited her. The corners of my mouth curled up slightly, revealing a faint smile. I said, birthday is an important day. It's too dull with just the two of us. Why don't we invite the whole class over and liven things up together? As soon as Wang Tian heard this, she looked flustered and hurriedly said, what are you inviting them for? You're not familiar with them. They'll mess up your house then. In the previous life, I had a proud and aloof personality, and really didn't have much interaction with my classmates. I was only close to Wang Tian. At that time, my classmates all thought she was a wealthy heiress, while I was a poor sycophant following her around. So as soon as I proposed inviting the classmates, she was afraid of being exposed, and immediately wanted to stop me. I replied, precisely because we're not familiar, we should interact more now. Otherwise we'll graduate soon, and there won't be another chance. It's settled. I'll go ask the monitor to invite people now. Regardless of Wang Tian's reaction, I turned around, and was about to go find the monitor. Wang Tian quickly got up and grabbed me saying, I'll go invite them. After all, it's my birthday. I stopped moving and nodded with a smile. I knew she was worried that I would tell the truth when I went to the monitor. When the classmates heard that they were being invited by a top-notch wealthy beauty to her home for a birthday party, their eyes sparkled with excitement. Finally, they had the opportunity to experience the life of the wealthy class. Tian, I heard that one of your family's villas costs 100 million yuan. That's amazing. Tian, before we could only see your luxury goods on Moments. Now we can finally see the real ones. Tian, which brand of high-end customization are you going to wear for this birthday? I heard that high-end customization means the designer comes to take measurements in person. A group of female classmates gathered around Wang Tian, looking envious and chattering non-stop. Wang Tian glanced at me, who was reading quietly, and her face turned slightly pale. Although the male classmates didn't say anything, it was obvious that they were secretly competing, thinking about dressing up handsomely on Wang Tian's birthday. Perhaps they could win the heart of the wealthy beauty. In the previous life, every year on my birthday, my parents would give me high-end customized gowns from big brands, as well as limited edition handbags and jewelry. But I just wore them for a dinner, and then took them off and put them in the cloakroom. Wang Tian's birthday was a month later than mine, and our figures were similar. So on her birthday, she put on my gowns, carried my handbags, and wore my jewelry, taking crazy pictures to show off her wealth. Moreover, I was the one who took pictures for her. Soon it was her birthday. I made an excuse to help Nanny Wang prepare the birthday banquet, and went home one night earlier. When Wang Tian brought the whole class in a grand manner to the gate of the villa area, she was stopped by the doorman. The doorman said coldly, sorry, only property owners can freely enter and exit this villa area. If a property owner's friends want to enter, the property owner has to notify us in advance. But currently, we haven't received any notice from any property owner. Wang Tian immediately flew into a rage and called me right away. Yi Jinjin, Didn't I remind you to greet the doorman in advance? I feigned surprise and replied, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I was too busy and forgot. I'll call the doorman right away." After receiving my call, the doorman immediately beamed with a smile and said respectfully, "These are Miss Ye's classmates, right? Okay, I'll let them in right away." Then he quickly opened the gate. After everyone entered, a girl quietly asked the classmate beside her, "Could this villa not be Wang Tiantian's family's? Why didn't the doorman let her in just now, but was so respectful to Yi Jinjin? Could it be Yi Jinjin's family's? Impossible. Look at what Wang Tiantian usually wears and uses. They're all luxury brands. Yi Jinjin is dressed in Uniqlo. How could someone with such a shabby look afford 100 million yuan villa?" The classmate beside her replied with a sneer, "Exactly, it must have been a misunderstanding just now. Last time I had a swimming class with Wang Tiantian. Her swimsuit cost 40,000 yuan a set." Another girl chimed in. Wang Tiantian listened to these remarks and secretly clenched her teeth. As soon as she entered the villa, Wang Tiantian pulled me aside and asked in a low voice, "Jinjin, have you prepared the clothes, jewelry, and handbags I want? Today is my birthday. Don't ruin it." I nodded and said, "I've prepared them long ago. They're in the cloakroom." Wang Tiantian nodded in satisfaction and said, "Although the classmates are all in your home now, they're all here because of me. So you'd better talk less today. After all, I'm the protagonist. Moreover, you know that I have much better popularity than you. They will definitely be more willing to listen to me than you." The meaning of these words was obvious. Even if I wanted to expose her in front of everyone, no one would believe me. I smiled and replied, "Today you're the birthday girl. No one is more important than you." In fact, she wanted me to keep quiet, but I didn't plan to expose the truth with words anyway. Wang Tiantian then went upstairs to put on the high-end customized gown, and put on that emerald pendant as big as a wind oil essence bottle. As soon as she appeared, the group of female classmates immediately gathered around her. "Wow, Tiantian, haute couture is truly something else. The tailoring, the silhouette, it suits you perfectly. Tiantian, this bag probably costs as much as a house, right? Tiantian, that pendant of yours is so big and shiny. It must be worth a fortune, right?" Wang Tiantian simply smiled haughtily, offering no response. She sat down in the hostess's seat at the dining table, as if she owned the place. Then with a wave of her hand, she instructed everyone. "Sit down, everyone. Order whatever you like. The bird's nest, steak, and Australian lobster today were all flown and fresh. I'm sure it's your first time trying such delicacies, so take this rare opportunity to indulge." After speaking, she turned to Wang Ma and said, "Wang Ma, go fetch my blood bird's nest." Wang Ma hesitated, standing still and glancing nervously at me. The top-grade blood bird's nest was extremely rare, something my parents had gone through great lengths to obtain for me. Wang Ma didn't dare to serve it to just anyone. I gave Wang Ma a look, signaling her to go ahead. Only then did she turn and head into the kitchen. Noticing the puzzled looks from the others, Wang Tiantian raised her hand to her forehead, feigning helplessness. "What can I do? Although the bird's nest on the table is already quite high quality, I've been accustomed to top-grade blood bird's nest since I was a child. Anything else just doesn't sit well with me." One classmate immediately flattered her. "You're as noble as a princess. You must have grown up in luxury, unlike us rough and tumble folks who can eat anything." Wang Tiantian smiled faintly and said, "Actually, I envy your resilience. But my parents spoiled me too much, always insisting on giving me the best. To be honest, I've never even had spicy strips as a child." Hearing this, I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. The reason you've never had spicy strips isn't because you were too noble. It's because you were too poor to afford them. Knock, knock, knock. Suddenly, there was a loud knocking at the door. "Missy, the piano you ordered has arrived. Could you please open the door and sign for it?" The voice of the property manager echoed from outside. I walked over, opened the door, and directed the movers to bring the piano inside. One of the classmates who had studied piano took one look and exclaimed, "Oh my God, this piano must cost 8 million. Someone quickly caught on and said, "Wait a minute, isn't this Villa Wang Tiantian's? Why would Yi Jinjin's piano be delivered here?" Hearing this, Wang Tiantian forced a stiff smile and said, "I've been so busy lately, so I asked Jinjin to help me with the order. That's why her name is on the delivery. This is actually a birthday gift from my dad." Then, she lifted her chin proudly and added, "Actually, this is a birthday gift from my dad. There was a delay in the logistics, so it didn't arrive in time for my birthday." The classmate who had spoken earlier quickly apologized. "Oh, I see. I was wondering how Yi Jinjin, who's so poor, could afford such an expensive piano." I remained expressionless, choosing not to expose her. "Tiantian, the piano's all set up. Why don't you come and try it?" I said, turning to Wang Tiantian. Since she loved putting on a show, I decided to play along. A flicker of panic flashed in Wang Tiantian's eyes. She had grown up in poverty, barely able to afford meals let alone piano lessons. She had never even touched a piano key. but she quickly composed herself and put on a helpless expression. "Oh, I just got my nails done. It's not convenient to play right now. I'll try it another day." I smiled and sat down at the piano. "Then let me play a piece for you as a birthday gift." With that, a smooth and melodious tune flowed from my fingertips. The room fell silent as everyone was captivated by the music, except for Wang Tiantian, who looked on with disdain. The classmates who had studied piano wore expressions of disbelief as they listened. As soon as I finished playing, before anyone could applaud, Wang Tiantian sneered. "What kind of awful piece was that? It sounded terrible." The classmates who knew piano were shocked. One of them couldn't help but correct her. "Tiantian, that's a masterpiece by a world-renowned piano virtuoso. Anyone who's taken even a single piano lesson would know that. And this piece is incredibly difficult to play. Only those personally taught by the master can perform it. This piano is even named after the master's mother. I thought you bought it because you admired him." Wang Tiantian's face turned pale, and she forced a smile. "It's been so long since I last played. I've forgotten." The classmate then turned to me, full of praise. "Oh my god, Junjun, you're amazing. You played that piece so beautifully. Did the master personally teach you? I heard his lessons are incredibly expensive, millions per session. Are you his student?" Wang Tiantian couldn't take it anymore. She shoved a piece of cake into the classmate's mouth. "If you have a mouth, you don't always have to use it to talk. You can also eat." Seeing Wang Tiantian's dark expression, the classmate didn't dare say another word. I didn't respond, simply smiling faintly. As for that world-class piano master, not only had I taken lessons from him, but he had also come to my home to teach me one-on-one. Fuming, Wang Tiantian couldn't wait for the birthday party to end before uploading photos of herself in haute couture and a large emerald pendant to the internet. Of course, she meticulously edited the photos beforehand, making herself look slimmer, fairer, and more beautiful. As usual, she expected praise and admiration from netizens, but this time, she was met with overwhelming ridicule and skepticism. "That pendant is so fake. You can get 3 for $5 at Iwu's small commodity market, and even haggle for a discount. The haute couture dress looks so poorly tailored. It's clearly not custom, made and doesn't fit at all. A Hermes bag? Oh my god, it's so fake I can't even look at it." Epic fail. Wang Tiantian's rich and beautiful persona has collapsed. Only then did Wang Tiantian take a closer look at her outfit. Though she didn't know much about luxury goods, even she could tell the items were poorly made and of low quality. Her expression darkened, and she excused herself, claiming a headache, before kicking everyone out. "Yi Zhenzhen, today was supposed to be my birthday. Not only did you humiliate me with the piano, but you also tricked me with fake items and made me lose face in front of everyone," she shouted angrily. I pretended to be hurt and replied, "With so many people here today, it was too risky to bring out the real emerald pendant worth 100 million. What if someone stole it? And the haute couture dress and Hermes bag? What if someone spilled water or drinks on them? They'd be ruined. If something had happened, Tiantian, could you have compensated for it?" Finally, I added coldly, "Besides, wasn't it you who provoked the piano incident? You tried to steal the spotlight and ended up embarrassing yourself. Who's to blame for that?" Wang Tiantian was left speechless. Of course, she couldn't afford to compensate for any of it, but she still grumbled. "You could have at least warned me beforehand. Now the whole internet knows I was using fake items." I replied indifferently, "Then just delete the posts." She retorted stubbornly, "I can't delete them. That would make me look even more guilty." Soon, the classmates saw the online comments and, combined with what they had witnessed that day, began to doubt Wang Tiantian's rich and beautiful identity. Some people even registered fake accounts and left messages under her posts. Wang Tiantian has always claimed to be a wealthy heiress, yet she doesn't even understand the most basic piano knowledge. The doorman of her family's villa area stopped her from entering and said that only property owners were allowed in. Can you believe it? The netizens who were following the drama watched with great relish, and Wang Tiantian's wealthy and beautiful lady persona collapsed instantly. She was so angry that she threw her phone hard on the ground and cursed. "These ungrateful wretches!" I kindly invited them to my grand villa to broaden their horizons, treated them with delicious food and drinks, but they turned around and slandered me. I sneered inwardly. "Is the villa yours? Did you pay for all these delicious food and drinks? Why should they be grateful to you?" After returning to school, the way my classmates looked at me and Wang Tiantian was completely different from before. I didn't care at all, but Wang Tiantian was indignant about it. The sarcasm and mockery of her on the internet were even more overwhelming. How could a wealthy heiress possibly use such low-quality fake goods? In order to save face, Wang Tiantian quickly got involved with the rich second generation. When the rich second generation drove a Lamborghini supercar to pick her up at the school gate, this scene was secretly photographed and uploaded to the internet. The netizens immediately changed their tune. "My goodness, this is a Lamborghini supercar. It seems that Wang Tiantian is really a wealthy heiress. Otherwise, why would a rich second generation take a fancy to her? That's right. In their circle, people look for partners with a similar social status. Maybe Wang Tiantian was deceived when she used fake goods before. The young couple is showing their affection. So sweet. Of course, the person who secretly took the photo was actually arranged by Wang Tiantian in advance. She regained her confidence and said to me triumphantly, "Xinjin, remember to tell the doorman of the villa that they should open the door for me immediately when they see me in the future. Otherwise, it will be so inconvenient for me to bring my boyfriend back." I almost burst out laughing, but in order to cooperate with her act, I nodded and replied, "After your birthday last time, I've already told the doorman. They won't stop you again in the future." Wang Tiantian snorted coldly and looked disdainful. "A bunch of low-class trash. If they dare to stop me again in the future, I'll ask my boyfriend to slap them to death." I looked at her distorted face and sneered inwardly. Perhaps she had been pretending to be a wealthy and beautiful lady for too long, and had forgotten that she also came from a humble background. Yet she was so vicious towards those who came from the same background but worked hard. "By the way, my boyfriend said he wants to get married as soon as possible, so I'm going to bring my parents here to meet him in a few days," Wang Tiantian suddenly said. I was a bit surprised. It's really rare for a rich second generation to want to get married so soon. He proposed to me after seeing my account that day. He should have been deeply attracted by my rich inner world, she said with a proud smile. I sneered silently and suddenly understood. It seemed that this rich second generation had also been deceived by Wang Tiantian's false persona, and thought she was really a wealthy and beautiful lady. So he was eager to marry her. And his father also said that after we get married, I can get 5 million yuan if I give birth to a son, Wang Tiantian added. I smiled faintly. Then I wish you to have a son on the first try. In fact, I had already heard of Wang Tiantian's rich second-generation boyfriend, Shen Song, but we weren't familiar. His father was indeed a frequent presence on the rich list a few years ago, but now the family business has declined sharply and is on the verge of bankruptcy. People outside the circle know nothing about this. Shen Song himself is proficient in drinking, gambling, and womanizing and is not favored by his father. The villa he lives in is actually rented, and that Lamborghini supercar is a second-hand car he bought from me. Shen Song still hasn't paid off the car loan. That was an 18th birthday gift from my father. I thought it was troublesome to drive, so I sold it. Shen Song still hasn't paid off the car loan. The two of them each think the other is a big catch, but they don't know how wonderful it will be when the truth is revealed. After Wang Tiantian's parents came to the city, they naturally moved into my villa. Her parents clearly looked destitute and unmotivated. Even though they were wearing new clothes, they still looked out of place with the magnificent decoration in the villa. If Shen Song saw Wang Tiantian's parents, he would surely be able to see through their true identities at a glance. Wang Tiantian also realized this. After giving her parents some urgent training, she said helplessly, "When Shen Song comes, you just need to meet him. Don't say anything else. I'll handle everything." Her parents heard that their daughter had found a rich second-generation fiancé and fantasized about living a superior life from then on. They immediately agreed with beaming smiles. Okay, Tiantian, we'll listen to you. By the way, did you buy this villa? It's so big. And there's a nanny to serve you. We won't go back to the village anymore. We'll live here and enjoy our old age. How comfortable." Wang Tiantian didn't correct her parents' words. Instead, she turned to look at me and asked tentatively, "Zhenjin, you're going to study abroad after graduation, right?" The implied meaning was that since I wouldn't live here anymore, the villa could be left for her parents to live in. I smiled faintly and replied, "After you get married, you'll naturally move to Shen Song's grand villa. It will be more convenient for your parents to take care of you if they live nearby, won't it?" Wang Tiantian became anxious and quickly pulled me aside, saying in a low voice, "Zhenjin, if my parents live with me, won't the truth be revealed? So they can't live with me. They can only live here with you." Just then the doorbell rang. Shen Song was here. He was holding a high-end bottle of Matai in his left hand, a box of premium bird's nest and luxurious skincare products in his right hand, with an obsequious smile on his face, ready to meet his future in-laws. After seeing the location of the villa on Wang Tiantian's social account before, he made up his mind to win this wealthy and beautiful lady and move in as the master of the house. He knew the price of this villa very well. When his family was at its peak, his father had considered buying one, but finally didn't have the heart to do so. If he could move in now, his father would surely look at him differently. Therefore, he was extremely attentive to Wang Tiantian, and even successfully proposed to her quickly. He also secretly planned to make her pregnant as soon as possible. However, as soon as the door opened, Shen Song's smile froze on his face instantly. The couple sitting on the sofa didn't look like successful entrepreneurs at all. Their demeanor was even worse than that of the garbage collectors in the city. Seeing this, Wang Tiantian quickly stepped forward and took his arm, smiling affectionately and introducing, "Honey, My parents are on a business trip abroad recently, and really couldn't come back in time. So they sent the family servants here. They raised me since I was a child, and I have a deep affection for them. Shen Song then relaxed and greeted Wang Tiantian's parents indifferently. Then his eyes fell on me standing aside, and his eyes lit up. Who is this? She looks so familiar. I just smiled faintly, and didn't respond. Wang Tiantian immediately stood up to block his view and explained, "This is my classmate. She couldn't get used to living in the school dormitory, so she's temporarily staying at my place. Now she was sure that I wouldn't expose her, so she brazenly made up lies. After all, I was really like that in the previous life, kind-hearted and always ready to help her with whatever she asked for." Shen Song wouldn't give up and asked persistently, "Did you attend that famous socialite charity ball in Paris a few years ago?" I was studying in France at that time. I did go there when I was 18, but I had already forgotten about it. The girls who could attend that ball were all from the world's top wealthy families. So Shen Song had a deep impression of it. Before I could reply, Wang Tiantian interrupted and said, "I was actually invited to that ball, but I declined because I wasn't feeling well at that time." I smiled faintly and replied calmly, "You must have remembered wrongly. I didn't attend that ball. My parents have always been low-key, and I've inherited that trait from them." Shen Song still didn't quite believe it. "That's impossible. You were the only Asian face at that dinner party, and I remember it very clearly." I remained composed. Maybe it was just someone who looked like me. Wang Tiantian was extremely anxious and quickly urged me, "Junjun, could you go to the kitchen and check if Nanny Wang has finished cooking?" I took the opportunity to stand up and left the living room. Shen Song, a fake rich second generation who is greedy and has no moral bottom line, is the kind of person that only someone like Wang Tiantian, who is poor but loves to flaunt her wealth, would cherish. As for me, I just want to stay as far away from him as possible. Ever since Wang Tiantian's parents moved into my villa, they haven't left. I also remained calm and waited patiently for the right moment. After the fake goods incident, Wang Tiantian made a brilliant comeback relying on Shen Kong. Well, I can also make her lose everything and pay the price because of the same person. Wang Tiantian thought that after Shen Song met her parents, he would soon propose to get the marriage certificate. However, Shen Song never mentioned it again. Instead, he became much colder towards her, and even took the initiative to use protective measures during their intimacy. This completely dashed Wang Tiantian's plan to rise to a higher status by getting pregnant. What she didn't know was that Shen Song had been sending me affectionate messages every day recently. Of course, I ignored him and directly blocked his number. I didn't want to see Shen Song and Wang Tiantian break up, so I took out my treasured jewelry and high-end customized clothes for Wang Tiantian to take pictures and show off her wealth. I even used my father's supplementary credit card to buy a Ferrari for her to drive. Wang Tiantian immediately uploaded a photo of the Ferrari to the internet with the caption, "A little toy from Dad. Happy graduation to me." Netizens praised her one after another. Indeed, the difference between people starts in the womb. Some things you don't have when you're born, you'll never have in your whole life. So this is the life of a real wealthy and beautiful lady. A Ferrari is just a little toy in the eyes of a wealthy and beautiful lady. But in my eyes, it's worth 10 times my life's worth. Sure enough, Shen Song immediately resumed his enthusiasm towards Wang Tiantian. However, after my parents saw the car purchase bill, they were a bit puzzled and called to ask, "Junjun, didn't you say you didn't like cars before? Why did you suddenly buy a Ferrari?" I smiled and explained, "I just suddenly felt like having some fun, so I bought it." My mother said lovingly, "Buy whatever you like, as long as you're happy. When you were a child, we were always busy with business and hardly had time to accompany you. Therefore, after I grew up, they would satisfy whatever I wanted." My parents asked again, "Which day is your graduation ceremony?" "Dad will ask the secretary to clear the schedule in advance and come to accompany you then. Grandma is ill recently, so Mom can't come. Otherwise, we would come together." I suddenly remembered the tragic incident that happened after my father attended the graduation ceremony in the previous life, and quickly refused. The school playground and auditorium are under renovation this year, so there won't be a graduation ceremony. You don't need to come. My father was a bit disappointed and could only say, "What a pity. Then, my dear, take good care of yourself. If you want to eat something, ask Nanny Wang to make it for you." However, Nanny Wang is already extremely busy now. Since Wang Tiantian's parents moved into the villa, they have been asking for this and that every day, making her extremely tired. It was only after I raised her salary that I barely managed to keep her. However, the day before the graduation ceremony, I suddenly received a call from my father at school. "Junjun, I'm in your villa now. How could you allow outsiders to live here casually?" I was startled. I didn't expect that my father, just like in the previous life, came here secretly, wanting to give me a surprise at the graduation ceremony. Who would have thought that he would be shocked first? Then I remembered that my father had donated a building to the school, and the principal treated him with great respect. He could find out whatever he wanted by just making a phone call. I rushed back to the villa immediately. As soon as I entered, I saw Wang Tiantian with tears all over her face, kneeling in front of my father, her eyes red from crying. Her parents were not there. They probably went out to play cards. As soon as Wang Tiantian saw me, she immediately pounced on me and grabbed me, crying and begging. Jinjin, please plead with uncle for me. I really can't move out now. If I do, my marriage with Shen Song will be completely off. Jinjin, I promise you that as soon as I get married to Shen Song and get pregnant, I will leave here right away. My father sat upright on the sofa, his expression stern, and his tone leaving no room for doubt. It's understandable that you want to marry into a wealthy family and aspire to live a prosperous life. But it's absolutely unacceptable to try to achieve that by cheating and deception. Since you're my daughter Jinjin's classmate, and you're in trouble, RE Corporation can offer a helping hand. You can submit an application to the charity foundation, and if it's approved, you'll receive assistance. But at this moment, you must immediately take your parents and move out of here. My father's words were decisive. Wang Tiantian was like being struck by lightning and burst into tears instantly. If I move back to the school dormitory, I'll lose all my face. My father's face darkened even more, and his eyes were filled with disgust. You're vain but have no real ability. I don't want to waste any more words on you. Our family's tens of billions of assets were all accumulated through my and your aunt's hard work from scratch. I despise people like you the most in my life. After saying that, he frowned, looking extremely displeased. The tragic experience of my whole family in the previous life suddenly flashed through my mind. I quickly stepped forward and affectionately took my father's arm, coquettishly saying, Dad, don't be so angry that it affects your health. I invited Tiantian to live here. I feel so lonely living alone. She won't stay for long, just temporarily. After hearing this, my father's expression softened a bit, and he waved his hand, indicating that Wang Tiantian should go out first. After she left, my father lowered his voice and said earnestly to me, Jinjin, your kindness and soft heart are your strengths, but there should be a limit. You just said you invited her to live here. But why did her parents come along too? You're practically inviting trouble into your home. I panicked and quickly made up an excuse. Her parents haven't been in good health recently. They came to the city to see a doctor, and had no money to stay in a hotel, so I kindly let them stay too. My father sighed helplessly and admonished, Fortunately, you're about to graduate. As soon as you graduate, make them move out immediately. I nodded repeatedly in agreement. Uncle, please calm down. This is freshly squeezed juice I made in the kitchen just now. Please have a sip to moisten your throat. At this moment, Wang Tiantian, looking respectful, held a glass of juice in both hands, and walked up to my father with her head lowered. My eyes swept over that glass of juice, and my heart sank suddenly. It was exactly the same as the one in the previous life. In the previous life, my father fell into a deep sleep soon after drinking this glass of juice. At that time, I was suddenly called away by the monitor, who said there was a problem with my file, and asked me to go back to school immediately. As a result, Wang Tiantian took the opportunity to take photos and falsely accuse my father. Swiftly, I reacted and rose to my feet, snatching the juice from her hands. I then addressed my father. Dad, during your last medical check-up, the doctor specifically mentioned that your blood sugar is high, and you should avoid fruit juice. Immediately after, I turned my head and called out, Nanny Wang, please bring a bottle of water. Subsequently, I stuffed the glass of juice into Wang Tiantian's hands, wearing a smile on my face as I said, I'm on a diet recently and can't have this either. This is freshly squeezed juice from imported fruits. It would be a shame to waste it. You have it. You know how much Dad detests those who waste food. Wang Tiantian stared at the juice in her hands, a look of reluctance on her face. However, considering that she wanted to leave a good impression on my father, she gritted her teeth and, with a frown, gulped down the juice. Scarcely had she finished when, just as in the previous life, my phone rang abruptly. It was the class monitor calling. Yi Jinjin, the teacher said there's a problem with your file. You need to come to school immediately to sort it out. Hurry up. I promptly replied. Okay. I'm on my way right now. After hanging up the phone, I turned to Wang Tiantian and said, Tiantian, come with me to school. Wang Tiantian was well aware of the hidden agenda behind this call. But in the presence of my father, she dared not refuse, and had to agree reluctantly. I led Wang Tiantian to the car and drove towards the school. On the way, I deliberately slammed on the brakes from time to time. Wang Tiantian, who was prone to motion sickness, felt extremely uncomfortable. Soon her face turned deathly pale. I cast a cold glance at her, then looked out of the window. Turning back to her, I said, Do you feel like vomiting? If so, get out of the car. Don't vomit in my Ferrari. As soon as the car came to a stop, Wang Tiantian couldn't wait to open the car door and rushed out. After vomiting a few times by the roadside, slumped weakly to the ground. By this time, night had fallen, and this happened to be the most chaotic bar backstreet in the city. There were often some ill-intentioned men lurking here, waiting for women who were drunk in the bars to come out so that they could take advantage of them. I started the car and drove away slowly. From the rear view mirror, I saw a sleazy, fat man quickly approaching Wang Tiantian and taking her into his arms. And Wang Tiantian actually leaned towards him affectionately. I knew that if Wang Tiantian absorbed all the sleeping pills she put in the juice, she would fall into a deep slumber. If she only absorbed half, she would become extremely crazy and act in a dissolute manner. At present, it was obvious that Wang Tiantian had absorbed half of the dose. I parked the car in a secluded corner nearby, quickly ran back, took out my phone, and started recording. The man, seeing Wang Tiantian's initiative, became extremely bold and impatiently pushed her against a nearby tree, about to take off his pants. A month later, it was the day of our official graduation, and also the time when Wang Tiantian had to move out of my family's villa. By then she had nowhere to go. Even the student dormitory that she had previously looked down upon was no longer an option. She was penniless and couldn't even afford to stay in a hotel. Anli Soa, with a considerable number of fans, she could have made money by accepting advertisements. But when a merchant approached her for cooperation before, she sneered disdainfully and said coldly, "I'm a top-notch wealthy heiress. Your meager amount of money isn't even worth a glance. With my status, how dare you ask me to advertise for you? It's simply beneath my dignity and decency." Since then, no merchant dared to approach her for cooperation again. In desperation, Wang Tiantian could only call Shen Song. Shen Song rushed over in a hurry. After learning the truth, his face instantly turned ashen. "So you've been lying to me all this time? You're so hypocritical. Everything you posted online was fake. Wang Tiantian, I'm breaking up with you." Shen Song, with a dark expression, left these words and turned to leave. Wang Tiantian, seeing this, quickly grabbed him and cried out, "I did lie to you, but now I'm pregnant. Your father said that if I give birth to a son, he'll give me 5 million. If we still get married, I'll split the money with you." Shen Song, looking puzzled, asked, "How could you be pregnant? I always used protection." Wang Tiantian paused for a moment and explained, "The contraceptive effect isn't 100%. Who knows which time it was?" Shen Song thought about it. The condom instruction manual did state that the contraceptive effect was not absolute. Coupled with the temptation of 2.5 million, he finally agreed. Before leaving, he smiled obsequiously at me. "Indeed, Miss Yi is the real heiress." So low-key, I remained expressionless and simply showed him the door. Soon, Wang Tiantian uploaded the video of her engagement to Shen Song to the internet and simultaneously announced her pregnancy, claiming that she would release new mother and baby-related content in the future. I looked at the screen and sneered coldly. Without me, where would she get those luxurious items to show off? Naturally, she couldn't post the kind of wealth-flaunting content she used to. Netizens, upon seeing the video, once again showered her with envy and praise. My goodness! When two rich second generations get together, how wealthy will their child be? It's simply unimaginable. Congratulations to the expectant mother. The father is handsome, the mother is beautiful, and the child will definitely be good-looking. What's more, they're so rich. Are you planning to have a second child? I need to hurry up and prepare for my next life. Wang Tiantian thus gained another wave of followers and started accepting advertisements. Although Shen Song's parents disliked Wang Tiantian's ordinary background and were dissatisfied with her previous deception, they highly valued offspring. For the sake of the child in her womb, they finally accepted her. Moreover, as she was now an online celebrity and could earn some money to subsidize the family, Shen Song's parents' attitude softened considerably. This made Wang Tiantian even more arrogant and overbearing, strutting around all day. The day of my going abroad was approaching. One day, Wang Tiantian called, her tone full of pride. "Yi Zhenzhen, you don't think that I have to live in a basement after leaving your villa, do you?" "I'm still living in a villa, my husband's villa." I replied unhurriedly, "Really? Why don't you take the time to check with the property management and see who the owner of the villa you're living in is? Also, check the credit records of your future in-laws and your husband to see how many times they've been defaulters." Based on my understanding of Wang Tiantian, after checking, she would surely have a big fight with Shen Song. So, I sent the video of Wang Tiantian fooling around in the bar backstreet that night to Shen Song via an anonymous email. The next day, 2 videos suddenly appeared on Wang Tiantian's account. One was the video I sent of her in the bar backstreet, and the other was the scene of Shen Song beating her violently. In the video, Shen Song was shouting and cursing while beating her. "You shameless slut. You can just strip and fool around with other men on the roadside. Not only did you cuckold me, but you also want me to be a fool and raise someone else's child. How dare you call me poor? You low-class trash. Where do you get the nerve?" As soon as the video was released, It immediately caused an uproar. The envy and praise that netizens had previously showered on Wang Tiantian now all turned into endless doichi and abuse. My God! How could there be such a dirty and vicious woman in the world? If I were Shun Song, I might not be able to resist killing her. From now on, Wang Tiantian will be synonymous with low-class garbage. That night, news about Wang Tiantian came. I smiled faintly, put down my phone, and continued packing my luggage. Tomorrow, I would embark on a journey and start a new and happy life.